Hello, and welcome back to Conan Family Technology as we are talking about how to get started with Classroom Sync, our add-on to connect data between your student information system and your Google Classroom Learning Management System. This video, we are going to talk about syncing your classes and your rosters as well, so your students and teachers in those classes. So this part of the application, the source of truth or source of data is your student information system, and the data will be moving to Google Classroom. So we will be having new Google Classroom courses be created and we will be adding students and teachers to those courses using the information in our student information system. So first thing we'll do is we'll go to our class sync kind of sub menu here. And the application is going to guide you through the process. It's going to tell you you don't have any courses yet. We can't create anything yet. You're not going to be able to copy or to sync rosters until you have created those courses. So the one button that it does allow for us is class export. So each of these actions is going to open a separate dialog that's going to provide the specific options that are relevant to the action that you are trying to take. So in this case, we are exporting classes, and the application, as you can see, has loaded the schools, the organizations from your student information system, as well as the specific teachers. So for our example right now, I'm just going to look at the upper school where we've created a test class for the sake of this demonstration, and going to go ahead and look at the one teacher that this is related to. So as we've selected the upper school, it's been filtered down to just the upper and lower school teachers, but you're welcome to select all of them, pick certain ones. And then you can also select how far ahead of your term starting, your class starting that you want to export. You may want to create courses for the entire year, all at the very beginning or at the beginning of the summer, even well before the school year, and you can change your settings to do that. But it defaults to 30 based on the assumption that in many of the cases you'll want to do this, probably within a month before you actually begin your school term or semester. And so we're going to go ahead and hit export there. And this is going to take just a moment to pull all the data from your student information system, from a few of the different types of um, data sets that you would have in your system, rather. And obviously, the more that you've selected, the longer this is going to take. But given that this is just one teacher, and we know there's just one demonstration class included, this should be relatively quick. So you can see here we have a demo class that has been exported. We can see some kind of internal system keys that are going to be helpful for the application, but aren't necessarily particularly important to you. And then we can see some information about the term and when that starts and ends, the subject, if there is any of that, and then if you have periods and locations defined for your classes, that'll be populated as well. These link and sync columns, and then this column over here about the Google Course ID, that's not populated yet because we haven't run the next step in the sync. So this tab, which is a new tab that's been created for the classes, is going to essentially create a reference between your student information system and your Google Classroom courses. And so the next step in the process, now that we have this exported, we can select, I should say, whether we want to sync this particular class or to sync the grades related to the class, which we'll talk about in the next video. But let's assume that we do want to sync these. In some cases, you may have a number of classes defined in your student information system, and not all of them need to come across to Google. That's fine. And you can just uncheck those directly. And given that we are working in a spreadsheet application, it's quite easy to bulk select and deselect and sort and filter these to your heart's content. So back into our class sync menu, you can now see that we have this create courses option available. And we are going to select that now. And this then allows us to make a couple of choices about how we want to create these courses. One option we do have in the AI era is that using the class name and the level and a couple and the subjects, it can generate a course description for you. Your student information system may already have a description in there, but unfortunately, the one roster standard at this point does not include that data. So optionally, if you'd like that to be generated and added to Google Classroom, you can do so. Be aware that it is using, you can call it still experimental technology to some degree, and that it'll take a little bit longer to generate. So just expect a little bit longer if you choose to do that, and make sure you're reviewing your descriptions before you publish them to your students. Um, Generally, I would expect you do want to activate the courses once they're created, but you're welcome to uncheck that and have them be created in a draft, or I think it might be called published status. That's not ready for, or it's not, I think, available to the students until you actually activate it. And then if you have some new teachers who might not be in Google Classroom yet, might not have their Google account fully set up, there's an option to invite those as well. For now, we're just going to have this one activate. We'll skip the AI for now for the sake of time, and let this one run. So, like anything in this process, the more classes you have, the more students you have, the more data there is to sync, the longer it'll take. But we're going to get to a point relatively quickly where this is all just going to be syncing more often when we're sleeping, overnight and in the background. So shouldn't be too much of a concern for us. So we can see now it's picked up, moving pretty quickly, given that there's only one class. So I expect this should wrap up rather shortly, and we should have our one Google course then created. We can see here a summary quickly of the process. So a course was created and one teacher was added. So that would have been just the one teacher who was the owner of the class in our student information system. There also is a way to export the full detail of essentially this log and any other processes within your profile menu in the application if you are having technical difficulties perhaps, or if you just want to see what you've done previously. There's some good information that's included in that log. There's then another option just right here, directly expecting that once you've created your courses, the next thing you're going to do is probably to run the roster sync. The other thing you can do is jump in and run the roster sync from here, or schedule it to run overnight and in the background. The roster sync is set up that it will run once a day, and we may have an option on how often that is actually. And then with the grade sync, you can do it a bit more often. Yeah, so it could be daily, weekly, monthly. Those are the options we have right now. Another thing you can do here that can be helpful for some schools is add some additional teachers to all of the courses that you're syncing. So in some schools we've worked with, they'll have a generic substitute email or administrator email that they want to actually be listed as a teacher in these courses. And so you can add those to just in a comma separated list in this field, and those will sync across as well. As far as the specific options for your teachers and students independently, the main thing we expect you're going to want to do is to add some users to the Google course from the class. So if you have students enrolled in your class in the student information system, you want them to sync across to Google Classroom, and teachers likewise. You can also choose to have it remove users from the course if they are removed from the student information system class. Sometimes you might not want to do that, just to be careful. But we have seen in the past, if a student is accidentally removed and needs to be restored, you don't lose all their data and coursework. At least, yeah, Google Classroom's good about retaining that kind of thing. And just a note here that courses must be active or provisioned and need to be in an active term. So this is not going to work for historical terms to move students across. We would expect you shouldn't need that, but that's not going to happen. So I'm just going to go ahead and run it for now. Once you schedule it, then it will just run overnight, as I mentioned. So, and then you can choose whether or not you want to sync enrollments for future classes. So, things that haven't or rosters enrollments, whether if the class has not started yet, you may want to wait until it's starting to start syncing the rosters through. So you are welcome to uncheck that box, and it will only sync active classes. So we'll just give that a moment. You're always going to have these progress bars. They like to move quite quickly when we're only working with a handful of students and classes and teachers. When you do have a large volume of classes to export and create and assignments and all of that, it will take a little bit longer again the first time when you're exporting it. But that's why we have the scheduled functionalities, so that they can run in the background when you're not having to monitor and pay attention to them. So this should just take another moment here to copy across the whichever students we have assigned in this demo class, assuming that we have a couple in there. So there it goes. Occasionally it gets hung up slightly at the beginning, but then it should wrap up quickly. It does seem that it was unable to add one teacher, which was set up in the class, and I'm guessing that's something to do with the demo class, the way we have it set up there. But that is the roster sync functionality there. And we will wrap up this video on that note. And in the next video, we will talk a bit more about syncing your assignments and grades.